This video is split up into multiple parts because it would take me way too long to make one massive video like this all at once. So it's going to be split up into around 2 or 3 parts. I'm also going to try to upload one video every weekend. If I don't upload a video on a weekend, that means I was very busy or ill. Also, if I sound weird, it's because there's no script for this section. And this was a last-minute addition. In 1792, the French Revolution begins. Although I don't really have the time to cover it here, it resulted in the European powers declaring war on France to maintain the balance of power. Meanwhile, following his great victory at Toulon, Napoleon Bonaparte has received command over the army of Italy. The French prepared to launch an offensive to knock Austria out of the war. The army of the Rhine would march through southern Germany and Bohemia. Meanwhile, the army of Italy would capture Klagenfurt and advance on Vienna from the south. Napoleon set off his campaign with a great victory, recognising the disorganisation between the Piedmontese and Austrians. On the 16th of April, 1794, Napoleon advanced his troops towards the Austrian front line, causing the Austrians to attempt a withdrawal. Meanwhile, he sent General André Massena with 20,000 men to cut off the Austrian retreat. This resulted in the capture of an Austrian army. There are also many internal issues back in France, involving Napoleon's short arrest, but that's not the topic here. Might do a video on it somewhere. Following this French victory, the Austrians marched to seize Savona. But this was halted by another French victory at the First Battle of Dago. Napoleon was then recalled to fight in the defence of Corsica and to put down a royalist rebellion. The Austrian army managed to push back the army of Italy, with doubts about the French even being able to hold the city of Nice, causing Napoleon to return. At the Battle of Luano, on the 23rd to the 24th of November, 1795, the French broke through the Austrian centre, causing a retreat. Following this victory, the French chose not to pursue, allowing the Austrians to set up defences at Acqui. In April 1796, Napoleon moved his headquarters from Nice to Albenga, and then Savona. On the 10th of April, the Austrians launched an attack on Voltri, gaining a victory against the French. But the French quickly struck back at the Battle of Montigny, with 200 French casualties versus 3,500 coalition casualties. But I need to take a second to talk about how diverse the Austrian army was. This massive collection of ethnicities was originally a positive, but this war started to show the issues. Back to the campaign, the Battle of Montigny had driven the Piedmontese and Austrian armies apart. Now, Napoleon would pick them off separately. Napoleon also gained a costly victory against the Piedmontese and Austrians at the Battle of Melissimo and the Siege of Coseria. The French were seeing the same success in the west, driving the Piedmontese and Austrian forces further apart at the Battle of Sèvres. Finally, the decisive battle that Napoleon had been hoping for, the Battle of Mondovì. The French left their camp early and advanced on the Piedmontese in a surprise attack. The battle was a crushing blow to the Piedmontese. On the 28th of April, 1796, an armistice was signed between France and Piedmont. They handed over territory and granted military access to the French. Napoleon then turned his army to face the Austrians at the Po River on the bridge of Lodi. The artillery was devastating for both sides, with entire companies being cut down by canister as they crossed. A massive French charge across the bridge and cavalry threatening to flank them caused the Austrian army to break. Napoleon entered Milan on the 15th of May 1796, 5 days after his victory at Lodi, although a group of Austrians held out at the Sforza castle for a few weeks. Napoleon also led a swift invasion of Tuscany and the Papal States, gaining a large amount of money from the Pope. During this time, the city of Mantua had been besieged by the French, but a possible Austrian counterattack from Tyrol caused them to abandon the siege on the 31st of July.